got it. Gage is flying it. You got it?
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Yeah, don't feel like you have to sit in the back too. You have to get around.
Socially distancing.
Yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
that's that.
Actually, stay in the back. Don't come any closer. Like you, move back.
Just
Do we have enough mints? Because we can order more.
Don't eat the mints.
Oh, really?
My wife made that mistake on
Horrifying.
Thursday when we were here picking up shirts and stuff. She's like, these are from like
The 80s.
1982.
Yeah, wow.
This mint is older than me.
This hotel is just like killing it, man.
All right, so everybody here is here for a reason, obviously. You saw the thing on the sign outside, so you know who our guest is, Miko Hughes. It's awesome that he's here.
Thank you for coming. I did not expect anyone ever at these things, so that's always like surprising and flattering that you want to waste your time in here with me. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
So like, I was going over some of your stuff. I of course rewatched quite a few of your movies while researching a lot of stuff. But like, this is what blew me away. Tom Hanks, Bill Paxton, Kevin Bacon, Gary Sinise, Ed Harris, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Christopher Lloyd, John Ritter, Danny DeVito, C. Thomas Howell, Chevy Chase, Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund, Jack Palance, Bruce Willis, Alec Baldwin, Kathleen Turner, Ivan Reitman, Ron Howard, and Wes Craven by 13.
Damn, dude, when you put it like that,
That's
that's kind of
insane.
cool.
That's insane.
That surprises me right now, hearing it like that.
The Rock doesn't have that.
I don't know.
Caliber.
He's
At this
close.
point,
He's getting there. He'll catch
like,
me one day.
The caliber of people that you worked with by like 13.
Yeah.
And I understand like some of these you probably didn't have scenes with, but
Sure, yeah. But
that's just insane.
yeah.
That resume just blows me away. Just the directors themselves, like
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Ron Howard.
Yeah, he was really nice. Yeah, from what I
Seems
remember.
nice.
Met him briefly.
That's kind of what my big question was for you, is like a lot of horror people, like you get like the Kevin Bacons and Johnny Depps, where they were in a movie, one movie, and then their star kind of took off and they did other things. You know, they really did never go back to horror.
Oh, yeah.
And then you have people like Jamie Lee Curtis, who did a horror movie and then did a lot of horror.
I came back to
And then kind of went on to do other things. You kind of had your foot in both worlds from the get-go.
a bit, yeah.
Because like Kindergarten Cop and, you
Sure.
know, I mean, what is it like going from like these movies that are just cult films, like just everybody in the horror community loves them, and then to like a huge, big budget movie like all of them?
It's weird. Like filming projects, it's its own thing. I don't really see it so much by genre. It's just maybe more about the character or whatever. You have to prepare for that individual project. But it's amazing to see, like, I think it's cons that keep the horror stuff alive. Because I did plenty of other stuff, but there's not conventions, and the fan base is so rabid. Like, I'm forever thankful to be a part of something that people connected with on that level, because you know, it brought me here halfway across the country and traveling and meet cool people. And you know, the other stuff that was awesome, and I'm thankful for, and I probably did more projects that were non-horror, but it's the horror stuff that really has been so sustaining, really.
Yeah, the community keeps these alive so much. It's like, there's so many movies that have been lost to time. There were great movies back in the day, but it's just like people forget about them because the new and better comes out. But horror movies seem to kind of stick around.
There's not comedy movie conventions,
Right.
you know,
I mean,
and they're great movies, but
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, maybe they'll be at like some Comic-Con type thing, but it's not what this is. This is like Die Hard. It's pretty cool.
yeah, lines for autographs and pictures just to meet these people. Where it's like,
Yeah.
you don't see Tom Hanks hanging out wanting to meet fans.
Yeah.
What a jerk that Tom Hanks.
I don't blame him. I think he's He's doing okay.
He's doing all right. One of the other things I really noticed watching those is, dude, you were so young. And
Sure.
to be that, like, I've seen Pet Sematary plenty of times, but I rewatched it this past week, and you were so emotive, and you had such a range as a child, because you were, what, like, two?
Yeah.
When that came out?
27 months, I think, when we started filming, so just over 2.
Like, what was your IQ as a 2-year-old to be able to...
Better than it is now, I think.
We would know.
Yeah, it's funny. Unfortunately, I don't really remember a lot of the actual filming because I was so young. And they're like memories of memories, or I've heard the stories that my parents told throughout the years that I kind of latched onto. But of actually being on set, it's pretty vague. Went back to the location, the house where we filmed some years ago, and it was very surreal because like I'd walk into a room, I couldn't tell you what was on the other side of the door, but like you'd walk into a room and it would be immediately familiar. It felt like going to like a long lost grandparent's house that I hadn't been to since that age. And it sounds silly, but everything looks smaller, which kind of makes sense. But yeah. Sorry, what was the original question? I kind of got sidetracked.
Oh no, just like how it just blows me away how good you were as a child. Like most child actors, you see they're very stiff and they're just kind of saying lines that they're given, but it's almost like there was a little 2-year-old method actor in Pet Sematary, which was really creepy to watch. I think that's why you were so effective.
I studied in the womb to prepare for that role.
You were born for it.
It's very, committed.
Just typing in the lines on headphones.
Yeah, right. Instead of Mozart or whatever parents do, like.
Two of the biggest moments in that movie are, I mean, the great ending line, "Not fair, not fair." You know, it's so good. And then of course, the one that makes everybody cringe, even if you've seen the movie once when you were like 10, you watch it again when you're 30, and you know that his tendon's about to get sliced, and you just start cringing immediately. Like I haven't watched the movie in quite a while.
Yeah, it still gets me too. That's a gnarly place to get hit.
It was really fun. My wife had never seen it, so I just get to sit there like watching her. Just horrified look. It's so weird. Like there's so many iconic moments in horror, but to have two like really memorable line and a really memorable moment as a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
Because those are the things that people remember from that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things as well. But those are the two that really stuck with me growing up.
That's cool.
Getting that slice and that not fair. I mean, it's quoted so often.
Yeah.
It's just, is that just weird to you that you have this thing that people remember so much when you were not remembering anything?
It's kind of surreal, for sure. I'm definitely thankful for the opportunity that I had. I think I got kind of just lucky. I mean, that's how I see it. Because especially with Pet Sematary, I really kind of disassociate it. Like, I can watch that one way easier than I can watch anything else I've been in because I'm just judging myself or it takes me out of the story. But I think because I was so young, I don't remember, and it looks so different, blonde hair, that I can enjoy the story for what the story is, more so than in any other project.
Yeah, that makes sense. Not really remembering that.
Yeah.
Not remembering being in that moment as much as the other ones.
I can get caught up in it and lost in it, where like anything else I can, but it's like more momentary because I'll think, oh, I remember that day, or you know, when we had to travel to wherever, you know.
Do you watch your movies?
Maybe like once in a while. It's situational. I don't go out of my way for it, but I usually watch it like once to kind of remember, like, oh yeah. Or if I do something new, I'll watch it once to see how it turned out, and then that's enough. I'm self-critical enough that it's not for me, I suppose.
That's true. So just talk about kind of your experience, like that young and moving through ages, kind of growing up in not just the genre, but just really in Hollywood, like all together, that whole machine.
Sure, yeah. A lot of hookers and blow. You know, before I was 10, it was a party, man. No, you know, I just remember going to a lot of auditions, and we lived outside the city, so it's a lot of driving all the way into LA for like a 10-minute audition that might not even be right for to drive all the way home. It's a grind, you know. I did it for years, and I think it wasn't until I was much older, like an adult, that I really had perspective to recognize how unique the situation I was in, because I grew up doing that. That's all I knew. I didn't realize that how strange it was that not that many people get to do that.
Was it fun? Like, was it fun for you, like getting to go these different places and
Yeah,
try out?
absolutely. And some was more fun than others, but grass is always greener. I think I was homeschooled, so for a long time I wanted to be normal. Like I wanted that like social experience, and a lot of my friends were like my nephews that were around the same age. I didn't have like a large social circle growing up, but at the same time I got to travel the world and meet all these people, and like I was working, like I had 10 years vested in a pension by the time I was a teenager. Like that's kind of crazy. So yeah, pros and cons. It's just a different life, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a different life. I mean, it just blows my mind. Just so that young and that seemingly capable in that system, where it's a lot of times the child acting takes a while to kind of get used to the system, kind of get used to acting and taking direction. Like, do you remember being directed like by like Wes or any of the other directors?
Yeah, it was a lot of no, do it right, do it again. No, typical Hollywood. No. Yeah, no, it was cool. Like I remember Wes. Wes was I think my favorite director I ever worked with. He was so calm and focused, and the team that he worked with, he had his crew and his partners that everybody played to their strengths, and there was a lot of sets and a lot of some of the really big ones too, big budget. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of stress that trickles down from the top to everybody else, and a lot of times it's over budget, over time. And with Wes, it was like he knew exactly what he was doing, and we finished like on the day we were supposed to finish, under budget. Like just did it right. He was kind of soft spoken, but when he did talk, it always carried weight. Like you could tell the gears were always turning. He was the master for sure.
So do you recall as a child like being aware of that kind of thing on the big budget ones, because I imagine it would be like an air of urgency and just kind of stress on those days.
Kinda, yeah, I would feel it. I think maybe I was a little more oblivious to it or sheltered from it, just being a kid. But you knew when it was a big day, or when it was an easy day, or when things weren't going right, or whatever. Yeah.
Because you didn't want to talk to anybody like that. Don't talk to that guy.
Yeah, you could tell.
He's walking real fast.
Yeah, you get a sense of that at any age.
Well, like with Pet Sematary, I was just, you watch a movie in a different way, paying attention to a specific actor, and you really realize things like, man, you kind of stole the show in Nightmare.
Oh, thank you.
Like,
I don't know about that, but I
you
appreciate
were so, I mean, I've never really been scared of Freddy Krueger
Yeah.
to begin with, but you were so much creepier than Freddy in that movie.
Really? Oh,
Yes.
wow. I thought he
Am I
was-
wrong? Does everybody agree with that? Like, just walking
Thanks.
around saying the things that he would normally
I
say?
had a few like possessed moments that were.
Yes, it's so
yeah.
much creepier when it comes from a little kid.
kid.
Yes, always. I think you kind of invented the creepy kid
How fun, yeah.
genre. So if we have a couple questions, turn it over to you guys so I can stop talking. Down the
In the
back.
back.
Did you keep any props or relationships from the movies?
Yeah, the biggest prop I have is the park from New Nightmare. It was filmed in Glendale, and they had just like all the park stuff there. And my parents, we lived out in the desert and had like plenty of room for it. I guess they were gonna scrap it because they didn't want anybody going to the park and like trying to recreate it and sue or whatever. And they wanted to upgrade. Now all that stuff's like more plastic and modular and modern. And my parents said, "Well, we'll pay to haul it away if you just let us take it." And they set it up in the backyard. So for years I had birthday parties, and we had like a trampoline in the ground, and it was really fun. You just have friends over, and it's still out there. It probably needs a paint job. It doesn't get much use these days, but it's back home. I have a few of the Rex dolls. I've got the plaster cast that they did of my head for Gage, and one of the fake syringes that retracts. I've got the PJs from New Nightmare. I've got some other clothes from some other films like Spawn and Cops and Robertsons. And my mom keeps all of that. She's got like it's creepy, like a little museum or something back home. But yeah, a few things here and there.
Most kids have like crown drawings on the fridge. You
Yeah,
get, like,
baby
a
photos.
claw with blood on it.
Kind of, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So like, I know you were saying you were younger, so you don't remember much from the Pet Sematary, but over the years, through these cons, were you ever able to connect again with Fred Gwynn or Stephen King?
Fred Gwynn, I think, passed when I was pretty young, before I was doing conventions, but I would have loved to, because I know they do like reunion shows sometime, and they get pretty much all of us.
Yeah.
The only one that really doesn't do shows is Ellie and Fred, because he passed, and Church, because cat. But, I know Denise signs for Church sometimes. She does a little paw print. It's kind of cute. But, yeah, and who was the other one you said?
Stephen King.
Stephen King. Yeah, I don't. He doesn't really do cons.
Yeah,
but
yeah, of course.
no, I haven't had the chance to meet him again. I don't remember meeting him. I know I have a signed copy of the book, and I've seen some pictures of us like playing. But unfortunately, I wish I had that.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah,
Either way.
yeah, it'd be great to meet him again, just to say hey at some point. Who knows?
If you do recreate those pictures.
Yeah, right? We'll just play ball out in the field. Yeah.
Do you still have contact with the people, the other actors at Full House that you were on with?
No, I'm friends with Blake Ewing, who's like in the Friends group. And I think I'm still friends with Taj Mari and I'm trying to think. There's like a few little random ones. Not so much the main cast. And even those I do know, it's mostly just like, hey, how are you on social media? We haven't like hung out or anything in many, many years. But maybe, yeah, it'd be cool. I'm sure maybe cross paths at some point. Those eyes are awesome in the back. That's so cool, dude. The mask, yeah. Anybody else? Cool, okay. Oh. I was going to say, all right, see you later. Cool.
You were young, you already said you don't remember too much about it, but did your parents ever tell you what the process was for Gage to go from the cute little adorable toe-headed kid that was so sweet to the,
Yeah.
like, what was the process to get you to go from so sweet and probably the way you actually were as a child to that face you make when you have the damn scalpel that terrifies me still to this day?
I don't think
I'm terrified of little 2 feet tall bastard kids that just freak
You're
me out.
welcome. I don't think there was like character development per se for like Pet Sematary.
No, but was there a process behind the scenes with the director or like your parents that made you get into that face?
Yeah, I think from what I know, from what they've said, like I took direction really well. And I think acting is just playing pretend. And I think I was able to memorize lines well enough. And it's go here, be angry, really angry, be mean, I assume I could be wrong, but I know that's my understanding. I know Mary Lambert, the director, was very careful about my exposure to like Pascal's character because the gore, and they were very careful about, they were originally going to put more gore on me, but they didn't want that makeup process. It was going to be too much. I think maybe not even just seeing it, but like sitting still and having it applied, I'd probably get pretty cranky because that is an ordeal.
Yeah.
And probably ratings too at the time, they couldn't go too far with it. But I know she was very careful about what I was exposed to, and I think she said that we shot in order. It was kind of like mostly, maybe there were some here and there, but that's not too common in films that they shoot the first scene in the beginning and the last scene in the end. But I think that maybe really served the film because you get to see the evolution because we're all going through it at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Seemed like it at least.
Makes sense.
Do you have a favorite memory from A New Nightmare? Favorite scene that you did?
From New Nightmare. This is, gosh, it's going to sound like silly and vain, but I was 7, so I guess it's fair. That I remember I was so into Power Rangers, and like the toys were so hard to find. They were like, you couldn't find them anywhere. And I had a birthday, and on set one day they did a scavenger hunt and like each one of like the major crew members, the heads of department, I did the scavenger hunt, and each one of them had like a different Power Ranger, and one of them I think had like a giant stuffed Super Mario. It was like the coolest birthday. It was like running around on set, like solving puzzles and getting toys. And that's not necessarily like part of the film, but that's, yeah, it was just like, that was pretty cool.
So now that you watch Pet Sematary when you're older and know the new one basically killed off Ellie
Sure.
instead of your character,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think it was a cool idea, and I respect them for taking it a different direction. Maybe that was something it needed. I think the execution didn't quite land as well as it could have. I think they could have done more, maybe. It didn't. I think that was the big twist, and they gave away the big twist in the preview. So they kind of blew their load, and then you go watch it, and you're like, all right, well now what? And then I feel like the third act just kind of falls apart because there's nowhere to go from there.
I kind of feel like they killed her off because like it may have been too disturbing for people to, you know, when the baby died.
Yeah, but they did it in the 80s. Why can't they do it now?
Oh, well, that's what I
right?
agree.
Like, but I
I'm
get
just
what you're
thinking that's
saying.
why they did it.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it was hard to do, and they got lucky with me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I didn't feel like the family had much chemistry either. It felt like this is the son, this is the daughter, this is the dad, this is the mom. Go. It didn't feel like I feel like in the original, and of course I'm partial, but
No, I like it.
they felt like a family. They felt like you felt the relationship between them and the dynamic, and it felt very, I don't want to say caricature-y, but it's like, we need someone to play this person, like, here's Pascal, but it didn't, I don't feel like it. There was some cool stuff, I will say, like some of the shots were updated and needed and like added something to it, but overall I think like the heart of it fell flat, unfortunately. But it was cool. It was like, I did a bunch of cons last year because of it, so that was fun. It's like, hell yeah. Yes, sir.
I agree with that. Are there any other horror films you've seen in recent years that you really liked?
I like the Sinister movies. I really liked The Witch. I know that one's kind of polarizing, but that one really killed it for me. There was another one too, and I'm kind of blanking on it.
Quiet Place?
Quiet Place was good. Yeah, I did that.
The Babadook too, I really like that.
Yeah, Babadook was polarizing, but I enjoyed that one too.
Mm-hmm.
I saw, okay, so this is like a weird culty kind of film. I can't believe it's not a bigger cult following. Like, my friend just turned me on to it a few months ago. We had like we were in Big Bear, and we did like hung a drape over the side of the cabin and like did an outdoor projector. It was really cool. There's this very strange French film. It's kind of horror. I think it applies here. It's maybe more thriller. But I don't understand how it's not like a huge cult following, because it's bananas. It's called Dial Code Santa Claus, and it was originally a French film. They tried to bring it to America, and they have another name that's called like, not Game Over, or like Deadly Games, I think, which is also very forgettable. But it's the movie that Home Alone was based on. And people don't, like, I guess the dude stole the idea for Home Alone, and there was a court case, they like settled out of court because of it. And, but it's like Home Alone on steroids. It's a fever dream. There's a drinking game we play where you have to drink every time you're emasculated by the 8-year-old boy. And you get drunk pretty quick. It starts off, he wakes up like in a plane that his dog was like, he's got this like whole playhouse, and there's like this huge mansion. And he's Rambo. He's like putting on face paint and like throwing ninja stars. He has trapdoors in the house. And it's hardcore. They like, spoiler alert, it's early on, kind of sets the plot. It's like baby John Wick. They kill his dog like right in the beginning. They don't cut. Like, it's hardcore. Instead of burglars, it's a pedophile that's trying to chase him around the house. He breaks his leg and has to like cut up a chair and make a splint, and he's like running around. Everything's like Dutch angles, the color's really weird. It's bananas. Highly recommend. That's
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, I didn't know it from the first name that you said, but on Shudder it was known as Deadly Games.
Deadly Games, that was the American. Yeah, it's on Shudder right now. So if you guys have
it was
Shudder,
crazy.
That's a ride.
And I read the part where it said it was the guy bit the Home Alone, or the Home Alone bit that idea.
Yes,
That
yeah.
really blew my mind.
I guess I'm blanking on his name. He's really famous, but I guess the writer, director, whoever like did it, he was in Paris for like a month, like the month that movie came out, and then a month or two later, he's like, "Here's this family movie script that has no relation," and nobody like realized that it was kind of. And Home Alone is great. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's
Was it?
still
Yeah.
amazing. But was it? Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
You should know the name.
Yeah, it's not my dad.
Not your
A lot of
dad,
people
but
think
your dad's
that.
name.
It's funny, my dad's name is John Hughes, but it's not that John Hughes. So
Right.
a lot of people assume, like, it's kind of funny.
You ask that a lot?
Sometimes, yeah. Anyway, tangent. That movie's pretty wild. Any other questions in the back?
Is it safe to assume you're not a cat person?
Sorry, say that again?
Is it safe to assume you're not a cat person?
Oh, I love cats. Yeah, no, I mean, Church is my cat. Yeah, I guess I'm more of a dog person. I've never had a cat. My mom was allergic, so I didn't really get to have one growing up. I think we had a stray that we fed. It was like an outdoor cat for a while, but yeah, I like animals for sure.
He can't own a cat because, like, if the internet got a hold of a picture of you now with a cat,
Maybe that means I need to get a cat.
it would just be all over.
Yeah.
There was more than one church in the movie, right?
Yeah, I believe there was like 9. 'Cause you
Okay,
can't
because
really
I had
train
actually
cats.
just recently heard that. Now, did any like animals actually like get hurt in the movie like they did in the old ones?
No, they wanted it to be as realistic as possible, so they killed him like multiple times. And then at the end, like, what are you gonna do with them? So we just killed the rest.
Yeah.
I didn't think we were gonna be.
Why would you purposely harm an animal?
You know, for laughs.
This was before the SPCA was around, wasn't it?
Yeah. No, of course.
Yeah.
Of course, they had like every precaution. No cats were harmed. It was all prosthetics and whatnot. Yeah, and I think each one was trained to do something different, or was good at doing something different, because you can't really train cats like you can train dogs. So one was more like hyper and like aggressive, and then another was like just chill vibes. And so depending on the scene, they'd use a different animal.
It made me literally love gray cats. I have loved them ever since.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are pretty cool.
What can you tell us about Dylan's new nightmare?
Yeah, that's an interesting project. Popped up last year. A guy approached me with a script at a convention, which happens a lot, and a lot of times they're all dog shit. That's, you know, but this was actually really interesting. It was like, okay, if you were going to continue the Nightmare series from the new Nightmare perspective, how would you do that? And it kind of nailed it. And I don't know how well that will translate page to screen, but it seemed really cool. And so we did like a little Kickstarter. Things were coming together, and then COVID hit. So right now, a lot of the rules for filming has changed. It's kind of breaking our budget if we have to apply all of these new rules. One of our actors is Canadian, can't get him across the border
Dave.
right now. So it's been put on pause. Hopefully this year, if not next year, it'll probably get made eventually, but right now it's in limbo. And in the meantime, like, I'm still in touch with all of the kind of team that it's a small crew, but we're passionate about it. So we're just gonna make it that much better, because we're talking about like, oh, well, if we would have filmed in May, we wouldn't have had this lined up, or we would have prepared that. So it's just, the more time, the better. It's just slow, unfortunately, but yeah. Yes?
And I asked a lot of questions, but how did you feel about the newest Freddy? Because I hated it. Absolutely hate it.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't, it's been a while since I've seen it. I didn't hate it as much as a lot of people did, but I did hate it. You know, like,
I mean, there were some good parts, but it just made me angry. He seemed more like a pedophile than the...
they always kind of alluded to that in the original, and I think maybe like with the new Batmans, they're like, okay, let's take it darker, like, it's super scary, and it didn't quite land. I understand why they wanted to do that, and, you know, props for trying. And I like the makeup, I like the actor. I don't think, you know, no one can ever feel, like, that's the big concern with New Nightmare, or Dylan's New Nightmare, is we have a great actor, and the they're kind of, so far right now at least, they're not letting me see the prosthetics that they're putting together because they want it to be a surprise on set, which is kind of a fun idea. But from what I'm told and the designs of like which versions they were trying to incorporate and make it its own thing, sounds like it's going to be really dope. But no matter how great he is and no matter how great the new makeup is, it's never going to be Robert. So I'm already prepared for people to hate on it just for that. Those shoes are too big to fill, you know. But it's, you know, everybody wants another Freddy, and it's got to happen one way or another. So I hope we do it justice as much as possible. I
Yeah,
like to
New
think so.
Nightmare Freddy was my absolute favorite.
Yeah,
Absolute favorite.
totally.
So I hope it was more like that.
Yeah. I think there was another one in the back. Question?
Yeah, I just had a question about the whole filming process since the whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
Do you think they're gonna have to do each scene separate, like you have a scene with this one person and cut out and then a scene with this next person to keep them separated?
Yeah, so I do camera work nowadays, and I've been working on a few projects back in LA the past few months, and the way it's evolving constantly, but the way it is now, everybody's masked all day long. We even have face shields, which are brutal. The heat and it's rough, but that's, you know, for insurance and safety, that's just kind of what you got to do. And they have zones, so the whole, it's like zone A, zone B. Zone A is like where the camera, where the set, where the action is happening. And if your department isn't immediately needed, you aren't allowed in zone A. And then it's kind of like waves where you go in, you know, different departments at a time, and it adds a lot of time. And there's like, usually there's video village where people watch the monitors. You have to have more than one because you can't have too many people clustered, so it's a lot more set up with more monitors and smaller locations. It's a lot of walking because you have to go really far to get far enough away to, it's a mess.
So it'd take twice as long for what?
Potentially,
Before
yeah.
and now, it'd take twice as long to film.
It's a lot of challenges. So, and everybody's getting tested like every 3 days, and yeah, it's a process. So hopefully that's not forever, but that's how they're getting by now. I know a lot of productions have shut down or haven't started back up again, but I know a lot have to varying degrees. But it's definitely not full force again.
Anybody else?
I'll do one more.
Yeah.
You said this one is, Dylan's New Nightmare is kind of in the same vein as where they would go from New Nightmare.
Yeah.
Is it also, does it have that sense of style of Wes Craven in it? Or
Yeah.
how do you think they're going to mimic that, or are they?
That's a good question. I think it's going to be as much of an homage as possible. I think it's definitely going to have its own vibe. We did a little teaser trailer, and it almost felt, I want to say like graphic novel, comic booky, which I didn't anticipate when we were going into it, but I kind of like.
Right.
So I don't know, I'm not exactly sure if, you know, that's what we're going to lean into on the day for filming. It's possible. I think it maybe should have its own, you know, distinct feel. And of course, we're working with a micro budget, so there's going to be a lot of cut corners. We're going to try to make it as high quality as possible. But I think it'll probably be its own thing, but based within the New Nightmare realm.
Okay.
Like picking up from there what happens 20, 30 years from then.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. We'll see how it turns out, but I think it's fun. I hope you guys dig it.
Is the Kickstarter still going?
I think the Kickstarter is not going.
I think so.
I think there is talk of maybe doing another round for post, like just trying to put as much into production as possible, and then maybe we'll do another to finish it and put the cherry on top, like do it right. Cool. Yeah.
Anybody else? I think you kind of touched on something that really made a lot of sense where you're talking about the remake of Pet Sematary.
Sure.
And something you just said with just kind of the micro budget. Like, I didn't really think about it, but that might be, I kind of want to know your opinion on
the remake?
remakes, just remakes in general, because I feel like what you said makes a lot of sense. Is when you're making a remake, you're trading on that original name already.
Yes.
So you've already got that, so maybe sometimes the family aspect doesn't come together because they're already trading on
Sure.
that.
Yeah, I think personally, I feel like the Pet Sematary remake was a little bit of a quick cash-in. I think there was more time and care and money put into the It remakes, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You know, it just presents its own challenges. I originally heard that there was talks, I remember Guillermo del Toro was tweeting about really wanting to do a Pet Sematary remake. And I thought that was the thing. Like, I retweeted it, and I tweeted it, was like, this, like, his creativity, I think, would pair really well. And that would have been really interesting to see. And I appreciate and found it interesting, you know, the direction that they did went, the ideas that they had. But I'll always wonder, you know, that would have been potentially pretty cool. But I think, you know, maybe Paramount just didn't want to pony up for it. They had enough going on with it and whatever else. But that is the thing with remakes too. There's a lot of built-in, and I think that's why there's so many remakes. Is there's a foundation. There's already a fan base. There's already like, not only are they making the sales on the new stuff, they re-release the original DVDs like for peanuts on the dollar to get those sales up again. So ultimately, that's why we're bombarded with a remake of everything always instead of new ideas.
Yeah, I just don't feel like the heart is there like it was in the original.
Yeah.
Kind of the thing.
Yeah, and I think that's what made it what it is. Even though it's a horror, it's like a family movie. It's not so much. It is monsters, but it's more about the horror of like a family being torn apart in like a realistic and horrible way, and then adding the supernatural to that, which is different than like zombies or whatever.
How did you feel about the new Pascal versus the old one? Because I absolutely hated the one.
Yeah, I just was waiting for. I thought they cut the role down very much. I didn't have anything against it, but there wasn't anything there. I don't know what his role represented besides putting him in the new movie because he was in the old movie. In the first one, and Mary Lambert detailed this, I can't claim this level of creativity because, oh my God, this is like so cool. Because I did a panel with her last year, fairly recently, and she mentioned how like Pascal you think is this demon or whatnot, and Judd is this friendly old man, but they're like Judd is the dark angel, and Pascal, as gory and undead as he is the light angel. He's trying to help the whole time, but they seem the opposite. It's kind of cool duality.
Especially at the end, you could really tell his role because he was like begging him not to
Yeah.
bury his wife.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that's probably going to wrap it up. I do have one last question for you.
Sure.
If you look at the top 4 movies on your IMDb, I'm pretty sure everybody can probably figure out what they are. But if you look at the theme of each one of them, I don't understand how you're not the most ill-adjusted person ever. Because you've got so here, no, themes for each one of them.
Oh, okay.
So you've got people we love come back and try to kill us.
Yes.
So like everyone you love, if they leave, they're going to come back and kill you.
Yeah.
As a child,
They kind of do emotionally.
Yeah. You've then got kindergarten cop.
Sure.
You've got criminal father trying to kidnap son.
True. Yeah.
Can't trust parental figure.
Yeah.
Then you've got government trying to kill child because child is too smart. Also scary.
Yeah.
And then you've got a twofer in New Nightmare where it's not only can dreams kill you, but hey, the movies that you've enjoyed and are always been able to be told, hey, that's just a movie.
There's no reality.
Yeah, those are also real and they will kill you as well. So it's just like, how as a child did you go through all of that and still sleep with the light off?
I'm a little fucked up.
Okay.
I'll be honest. I got issues, y'all.
That is fair, and I think I'm a little fucked up is the best place to end it. So
thank you for coming to my Senate. Yeah, thanks guys, appreciate it. Swing by the table if you haven't already. Come say hey.
Come here. Come here.
Hey, this is Miko Hughes from Pet Sematary and Wes Craven's New Nightmare. You're watching Death Curse Society. Is that okay?
No fair. No fair, no fair.